but the fun is just beginning for the championship round.
Absolutely, and speaking of beginning, it's about how you set the tone if you're the Syracuse Stallions. This first 12 minutes may be the most important 12 minutes of basketball any of these young athletes have ever played.
Now it's worth noting that the Syracuse Stallions are without Defensive Player of the Year, Jaquil Taylor, tonight due to an injury that he suffered in the last go-around Game 2 of their Final Four series against the Indy Express. And it's going to be a quick start on the other end of the court. Tavares Sledge slams it down, and it's a 2-0 start just like that for the Enid Outlaws.
Quick start to say the least. A great quick bucket. I think the ball movement will be important. You see it on that very first play for the Outlaws.
As they do here in Syracuse, they stay till the first bucket, and Jordan Robertson gives it to him. Three-pointer from the top of the key. What a confident shot for that young buck to start the night.
And that'll get that crowd out of our view, Gio, because they're standing up until that first bucket, and a quick start for the Stallions means you and I get a little bit better of an angle, for this opening matchup.
Yes, that's very true. We're here up in the top corner of the bleachers, and when everybody's standing, it's a little difficult for us to see from our seats. Tristan Burrell, the quick foul. It's the first one of the night and the first stoppage of play. But how about this atmosphere? It's the largest crowd of the season here in Syracuse for their only game of the championship series right here, Game 1. Mike Henry wants it downtown off the back of the rim, too strong. Jimmy Gray the rebound. Tried to hit Mo Taylor, and Mo Taylor's worth talking about, Kyle. He's in there for his brother Jaquil, who again sustained that injury. Huge blow to the Stallions team, but Mo Taylor, though he has big shoes to fill, he is a guy that can get it done.
Absolutely. Jaquil, like you said, the TBL Defensive Player of the Year, matching up against Comanche, who's the MVP of the TBL, but Jaquil's out. His brother's stepping in. We're going to look at that matchup all night.
Speaking of Comanche, the 6'11 center, who is the league MVP, just slams it down off the alley-oop. And, Kyle, he's a special talent to watch, averaging 28 points per game, 12.9 rebounds. I mean, he can do it all. Look at him just body his way inside. And that's going to be a problem for Syracuse. He just went right up and over the tallest guy on the floor right now for the Stallions, and Mo Taylor playing the 5. Burrell wants 3. Off the back of the rim, too strong. Taylor a rebound. Now caught up in the corner, able to find Jimmy Gray. Jordan Robertson open right wing 3, off the mark, no good, and out of bounds. Last touch by Devin Harris will stay right here.
Kind of a little bit of pinball action back and forth, but I think that's another good possession from the Stallions. Obviously not getting to the rack early on just as well as the Outlaws are. And that's because the first thing that you and I noticed, Gio, prepping for this game is the absolute size advantage. The first time we've seen the Stallions completely outsized in the court all season long.
And it showed right there. Great defense by the Outlaws as Tristan Burrell didn't have any wiggle room. Stewart defensively for Enid. And the crowd comes alive once again with the defense chance. Here's Sledge, kicks it to the left side. Pass inside, taken away by Gray. 3-on-2 opportunity. Mike Henry thought about a corner 3. And they'll say that his heel was along the out-of-bounds line. I'll say, Kyle, it's right in front of our eyes. I didn't see it, but the ref doesn't lie.
You know, we try not to be biased here at Tony Smerelli Court, but I have to agree I didn't see anything. And Mike Henry would like to take that one back, but on to the next possession. That's the way the Stallions have to think all night.
I saw a lot of blonde wood, not a lot of blue, but nonetheless we'll head the other way. Left elbow jumper's good. Kyle Stewart, averaging 9 a game. He's 49% from the field. Very efficient scorer. One of the best in the league. One of those quiet assassins.
Stewart, a 6'8 guard/forward. I think he just has too much versatility for his game, and starting at that right elbow, that'll be his shot all night.
Here's Jimmy Gray off to Robertson. Great pump fake. Robertson slams it home. The elevation by Jordan Robertson.
I'm sorry, did you say something, Gio? I couldn't hear it.
What an athletic play by Jordan Robertson, and he is one of the most electrifying players to watch in the TBL, without a doubt. Good defense, down low, Tristan Burrell. Now it's Jimmy Gray up the floor at midcourt. Jimmy Gray pulls up from downtown, yes! And the Stallions are hot. And a timeout by Ed Corporal.
Jimmy Gray, nothing but green from the top of the key. A good start for the young fellow, the smallest guy in the court, showing out for the Stallions.
That's a confidence shot to stop dead in his tracks, let that baby fly. Knows he can hit those. Head coach Nick Perrioli knows he can hit those. And it's a great swing, 5 points on the other end for the Stallions.
And speaking of Perrioli, how about the poise from this young coach? A player in their inaugural season, you see him immediately after this first time out, reining his guys in, taking a deep breath and just letting them soak in the moment. Because that's their first taste of the Enid Outlaws. They need to really soak it up and kind of contemplate what they really have in front of them. Because this isn't just your average game. This is game 1 of the TBL championship.
Do you believe this? These are 2 inaugural seasons taking place right now. This is Enid's first year in the TBL. This is Syracuse's first year in the TBL. Both of them surpassing every other team and making it all the way to the championship series. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and that says a lot about the attraction of the league and the TBL. Dave Magley's done a great job of creating such a beautiful community for basketball. And all these teams from other leagues, the ABA for the Stallions, just going to have to give away their best squads because, frankly, this is the best, pro-am league, or obviously professional, but the next best league you've got in the United States besides the NBA and its G League. And it really shows when you have teams like that leaving other leagues and then destroying all competition.
Both teams were former ABA participants. Matter of fact, the Enid Outlaws won the ABA a couple of years back. And they've turned themselves into a predominant program in the TBL. They ended off their regular season with a 22-2 record, in contrast to Syracuse's 20-4 record, which is why they get the home court advantage in this championship series. A big run from Syracuse. We'll see how the Outlaws respond. Suffocating defense. Now the Outlaws down to 7 on the shot clock. Great pump fake here, a drive, and an easy 2, no good. Tipping it out was Tristan Burrell, and it's a 3-on-2 up the floor. Jordan Robertson lost control off the pass from Mo Taylor. Devin Harris had an alley right to the tin, and he couldn't finish.
You simply cannot afford to give up a mistake for another mistake. You have to capitalize off of Devin Harris's missed bucket. Tries to go for the finger roll, just bounces off the back rim and out. An unlucky shot, frankly, after a great ball fake, but at the end of the day, you got to capitalize. Push down the floor and put the bucket away.
What a circus shot there by Charlie Marquardt, the Lemoyne College product, very familiar with Syracuse. He was trying to draw that contact as the Stallions left him alone, and he still got it to fall. Jimmy Gray thought about a 3, now will pull up with a hand in his face, off the front of the rim, left it short.
Got to respect the confidence. Jimmy Gray was hot early, and I don't think that's going to slow him down.
Marquardt, and off the back of the rim, too strong. Here's Tristan Burrell doing his thing. Tristan Burrell lays it up and in, and that's what he does best, Kyle. One of the most prolific scorers in professional basketball.
And not to take away from it, but the Enid Outlaws might be the only team in the TBL that could make this guy look human, because you and I call him lightning for a reason. He's at the rim before you can blink.
On the inside, Stewart couldn't finish. Here's Burrell up the floor. Tried to lob it to Robertson. Instead, it's a 4-on-1 and an easy layup for Kyle Stewart as he gets his miss back.
Had he gotten that ball up for Robertson, that would have came from the rafters. We've seen a couple of slam-a-jammas from Robertson. That dude can really throw him down.
He sure can. Mo Taylor, deep 3, got it! Mo Taylor stepping up in a big moment. An uncharacteristic shot, but he buried it.
Mo Taylor only 22% from the three-point line, including the playoffs. Like you said, uncharacteristic, but I'll take it.
And a crowd silencing foul. Kyle, you get the feel that this could be a very interesting series. The Stallions have yet to lead, though, so far tonight. It's a 1-point advantage, 13-12, for the Enid Outlaws, hailing from Oklahoma.
And if you get this stop right here, that's the best time to capitalize and finally get that first lead, keep the momentum going.
Great ball movement here out of the Outlaws. Better defense from Mark. And we'll stay at this end. It was great defense there by Mike Henry. And he's one of the best players, not just in the Eastern Conference, in the whole TBL as well. A character, to say the least.
Henry's a hustler. And look at that board from Mo Taylor rising up. You need guys like him to clean the glass all night because that size advantage is so important.
Three-pointer off the mark. Comanche fights for it and pulls down the rebound. Nobody's bigger than him on the floor, and that's where Syracuse is going to miss Jaquil Taylor, to say the least. with that size advantage, as on the other end, Tavares Sledge puts it in no problem. But they simply don't have a guy at the height of Comanche to match up with that. And Jaquil Taylor was the closest thing at 7 foot.
Absolutely, and I think even 6 minutes into this matchup, if Jaquil Taylor was still on the floor, it might seriously be a different game. And that leads me to my price chopper keys to the game. Setting the tone in the paint for the Stallions is so important because without Jaquil, you're completely outsized.
Mike Henry in the corner, sweet spot, baseline drive, yes sir! Mike Henry doing what he does best.
Henry's elusive. He's one of those guys that I call sneaky athletic. Doesn't look like a slasher, doesn't look like a bucket getter, but man, can he get to the rack.
Good defense here by the Stallions, and look at Comanche. Just pulls down the rebound and bullies his way to a bucket.
That's why he's the leading scorer in the TBL and your 2021 TBL MVP.
Oh, what a pass by Jimmy Gray. Tried to thread a needle, but it was fantastic defense from the Outlaws. Dish to Comanche, and the finger roll is good off the assist from Devin Harris.
Gio, you and I were warned about the fast-paced basketball you and I are going to be broadcasting.
Oh, my goodness! Jordan Robertson just took flight.
And before I can even finish my sentence, Gio, my goodness.
He's not human, Kyle. And a fantastic spin move by Charlie Marquardt on the other end.
That's a great response bucket. Don't have to do anything fancy after a slam home. Just get the easy bucket.
Mike Henry, great defense, but it doesn't matter. Comanche swarmed in, and the friendly roll was there for Mike Henry.
And I feel like the crowd holds their breath every time the ball goes up in the air.
Three-pointer, top of the key, rattled off the rim, no good. What a rebound by Jimmy Gray. Shortest guy on the court got up for that one. But the Stallions turn it over nonetheless, trying to do a little too much in transition. Corner three in the air. Off the mark. Another miss. Third time's not the charm, and Mo Taylor's there to scoop it up. Tavares Sledge couldn't connect. Mike Henry on the other end. There it is. And we're back to a one-point ball game.
And that's what Henry does so well. He's not a cherry picker. He's just a guy who gets down the court better than anyone else. Easily the hardest working Stallions player that we've got.
He's a hustler, to say the least. Here's Devin Harris. Down to 8 on the shot clock. Stewart back to Sledge. Now Marquardt. Pulls up, fade away, got it. Charlie Marquardt can hit the big shots, Kyle.
And talk about a crowd silencer, 18.5 points per game, and a lot of those points come from past that three-point line.
He's deadly from beyond the arc, shoots 48% from three-point land. Tristan Morel to the tin, able to draw the foul. And that's going to be our first trip to the free throw line tonight. Perfect time to shout out our proud sponsor of tonight's broadcast, Price Chopper, Market 32. Again, you're tuned in to TBL TV. This is the championship series of 2021.
Tristan Burrell at the free throw line now, and I think Tristan Burrell and Jordan Robertson, those guys are supposed to be those leading scorers. They've been a little quiet early, but I still think it's been a fantastic start for the Stallions. These guys are just trying to go get the easy buckets. Obviously, both guys can shoot well from the outside, slash to the rim, and slam some home, but they're also trying to draw the fouls. They know that they're outsized, so they're going to have guys who have that reach advantage and that size advantage, getting a little handsy on the inside.
Because Mike Sugamosto, the GM of the Stallions, loves Tristan Burrell. Look at Mike Henry clean up the mess. Again, another hustle bucket out of Mike Henry.
Our leading scorer early on for a reason. He's in the right place at the right time.
Big man down low, Nicholas Evans fades away. And a mid-range game, he can do it all.
And what I love about the Stallions, they play up to their competition. This is the first time they've faced a team that they know is more talented than them, and they're making extremely tough buckets early on. I haven't seen this from the Stallions yet.
Here's the drive, free throw line jumper, good for Charlie Marquardt. And again, he's a bucket getter. That's what he does best, is shoot the basketball. He's incredibly efficient. Here's Jordan Robertson. He's feeling himself. Pulls up, hand in his face. Yes! Jordan Robertson! Unbelievable.
Everybody's taking a turn in the spotlight tonight. Robertson rising up from the wing.
Here's Devin Harris. Going at John Ivy, gives it off Marquardt, thought about a three. The screen's there, Marquardt launches, and he hits! He's unconscious, Marquardt.
And defended closely by Henry, too. That's not an easy guy to get a shot over from there.
Now Tristan Burrell. Off the mark, and the rebound pulled down by Wayne Reynolds. Devin Harris kicks it out. And some miscommunication as Kyle Stewart couldn't quite corral it. Well, head the other way. Syracuse still is not led tonight. Down by 3, 28-31, 132 left to go here in quarter one.
And I like when I said earlier, when the Stallions were down by just a possession, Enid Outlaws made a mistake, got stopped. That's your chance to capitalize. Get a big
experiencing right now. Thanks so much for tuning in and hanging on for the ride on TBL TV. We'll get the action back to you in its highest factor
of the year for a reason.
John Ivy into Robertson, who will take it up the floor for Syracuse. Now Burrell. Off to Elijah Minnie. Again, we talked about it, Kyle. He's probably going to get more minutes for Syracuse with the absence of Taylor. Robertson down to 5 on the shot clock. Step back, fadeaway 3 off the mark. Elijah Minnie swarms in for a big board. Got the friendly roll. Elijah Minnie. And hustle plays are going to be the story tonight for Syracuse when you're playing a team that shoots the ball better than you, when you're playing a team that shoots from the free throw line better than you, when you're playing a team that rebounds the ball better than you and is taller than you. And a travel on the floor against Wayne Reynolds.
And talk about making a difference as soon as you get on the court. Elijah Minnie, like you said, hustle board, hustle bucket. You're not going to see a ton of second chance buckets from the Stallions tonight, although they are one of the best rebounding teams in the country. As a matter of fact, the #1 team in the TBL in boards, next to #2 Enid. What else do you expect? These two teams are going to crash the boards better than any other teams we've seen in the TBL.
Tristan Burrell gives it off. John Ivy, baseline drive, kicks it off Henry. Down to 4 seconds in the shot clock. Henry's got to find a shot. Spins, fades. Left it short. Tristan Burrell got the miss. Off to Minnie. He couldn't finish. And Kyle, I don't think Minnie was ready for that pass right there. I thought Burrell was going to go right up to the hoop with it. The lob and the foul. So heading to the free throw line will be Wayne Reynolds.
Yeah, I think when you have a guy like Tristan Burrell on the court who has a court vision perhaps better than anyone in the entirety of the TBL, you're going to have guys who aren't ready for those passes that he dishes off better than anyone else. And, Elijah Minnie, obviously a quality player for the Stallions, just wasn't ready for that one, and a lack of composure on the inside showed right there.
The inbound and another foul against the Stallions goes against Elijah Minnie.
And I like that idea from Minnie, a long guy who can get some steals near the top of the key or on inbounds, but no reason to try and reach for that one. Let him get in the post. You're the bigger man nearly in that matchup. Obviously, Comanche is just absolutely massive, but you can't be afraid to do so.
Now the inbound coming. Kyle Stewart to toss it in, and we'll get a stoppage of play. So they want to put 10:43 back on the game clock. Remember that. A second could matter and make all the difference when this thing's... So Devin Harris for the Outlaws. Spins. Dumps it off. Comanche. He's swarmed by a handful of Stallions. Big fight for the ball. Comanche now with it. The floater, no good. And Syracuse is doing a really good job being effective on the boards right now, despite the size disadvantage. The lob to Burrell, and he missed it off the rim.
Oh, and that one hurts if you're Tristan Burrell, because, man, it would have felt good to slam that one home.
And it's going to be a foul down low, likely against John Ivy, as the three-pointer wasn't there for Reynolds.
Now it's getting a little chippy in that bunch, too, and you have to expect that. Two of the best teams in the TBL, they're going to talk that talk all night, Gio.
It's getting chippy, and it's getting loud and hostile here in Syracuse as well. So Tavares Sledge is going to check back into the ball game. Great guy to have on the floor right now. 6'10", gives you that height. That also averages 16.6 points a game and 9.7 rebounds, so an effective player, to say the least, for the Outlaws, who were #1 in the TBL Central Conference heading into the playoffs, just like Syracuse was in the East. So 2 number 1 seeds make it all the way to the championship game. And a foul as Comanche's going to head to the free throw line, to the dismay of everybody here at Tony Smerelli Court.
As I was going to say, I mean, you hear the dismay in the crowd. That's something you got to get used to in Syracuse, New York, but especially for the TBL matches and company. These fans are diehards.
And the cowbells come out tonight. The air horns as well, as the free throw's good. Usually air horns are not allowed at professional sporting events, but they have not put a stop to it tonight. Comanche with the air horn. And it
Out of those air horns, and I can't blame him.
It's tweaking him over here. Not a fan of the air horn. Here's Tristan Burrell trying to find a bucket off to Henry. Syracuse trailing by 4, 10 seconds on the shot clock. Henry a drive. Henry dishes it off. Good ball movement, and Elijah Minnie lost control of it. Will head the other way. Mo Taylor checks back into the ball game for Syracuse. 9:41 on the game clock in the second quarter. As Enid still looming around that 4-point lead right now. Syracuse trying to find a response, and the scoring has certainly slowed here once the second quarter commenced.
And look for him to make that immediate difference, Mo Taylor, stepping in, like I said, for his brother, Jaquil Taylor, injured in that past matchup.
Devin Harris elected not to let that one fly. Instead dumped it out, and that proves to be costly as Syracuse up the other end. A 3-on-3. Chris Gilks in the corner and lost control of it. Out of bounds it goes. So Gilks in the ball game now for Syracuse as well, as they're just trying to find some production and give guys like Minnie and John Ivey a breather. This is the most we've seen Elijah Minnie play so far in a Syracuse jersey in these playoffs.
And he's making a difference. Another guy with size who hustles, similar to Mike Henry.
Now Harris off the screen. Harris with 10 on the shot clock. Harris left alone. Lets it fly. Too strong, and Mo Taylor swarms for the rebound. Now Jordan Robertson. Robertson stops dead in his tracks. 3. Missed it all. An air ball. And Enid has numbers. Harris the spin. Harris to the 10. Harris bodying Chris Gilks and dropping a deuce.
And the Enid Outlaws are one of the best teams at just getting down the floor, moving the ball, and finding the open lane to the bucket. And you see it right there, because the Stallions are one of the best teams in transition basketball too, but they just don't match up to the pace that the Enid Outlaws have.
Mike Henry is spin. Mike Henry draws the contact, missed it off there, but how about the tip in by Chris Gilks? Lob towards the middle. Unable to put it up and in that time was Sledge. Here comes Syracuse. Jordan Robertson, he's best in transition, and Mo Taylor, with stones for hands, couldn't corral that one. Will head the other way.
And that's when I bring out the greased pig reference. I mean, this ball has been slicked up all night. We're only, about 20 minutes into this matchup, and that's probably the 6th or 5th turnover from the Stallions tonight on just passing plays. So you can't afford to give up all those opportunities to the Enid Outlaws. You would say it's criminal to do so, if you will.
I get what you're saying there with the Outlaws. No pun intended, but fully intended. Corner 3 up in the air, and it's good. Omega Harris, and they'll say he had a foot on the line, so it will be a 2. Well, another guy for the Outlaws that's really a fan favorite, big on social media. Not the biggest contributor on the floor, but does the dirty work. Puts up about 6.5 points a game. Shoots the ball effectively, though, 50% from the field, and does his job. Another role player. Both of these teams full of them. Here's Tristan Burrell taking a drive. The floater's good.
And Burrell gets up in the air better than anyone else in the TBL. It almost looked like he threw that ball down into the bucket. Meanwhile, he's like 5 feet away, Like you said, you and I don't think he's really that human.
Mike Henry tipped it away. A save by Burrell. Henry's got it. Up to Chris Gilks, and they just got to settle it down a little bit in transition, that's all. They're just playing a little too fast right now, trying to do a little too much.
That's exactly what I was going to say. He stole the words right out of my mouth. You saw the dismay in Nick Perrioli's expression, just bouncing the ball around after catching it from the ball that sailed over from Chris Gilks.
And when you're trailing by 4, you just can't give away. Devin Harris kicks it out. Three-pointer for Sledge in the air. Rattled it home. Tavares Sledge, a big bucket. And Kyle, that's going to be a matchup to watch, though. Sledge and Tristan Burrell going at it. Burrell's 6'7", Sledge is 6'8". Similar body types, similar play styles. Those two are going to be an interesting matchup to look out for. Mo Taylor off the window, got it.
Absolutely, yes. Sledge and Burrell, two D1 products, Memphis and Wright State. Both guys who know how to play on the big stage, and you see it with these big buckets late in this championship matchup.
Here's Sledge, dumps it off. Marquardt, he's a bucket getter. Less than 10 in the shot clock. Great defense by the Stallions. Mike Henry, off to Burrell. Top of the key 3. Left it short. And Chris Gilks is there to pull down the offensive board. Mo Taylor swings it to Gilks. The deep 2. No good. Burrell swarms in. Off the window. Yes! The bucket and the foul. And this crowd comes alive in Syracuse.
The big fella bringing it back within reach. Just another hustle bucket. Chris Gilks, not an offensive presence necessarily, but a hustler. Getting that board, back out, another bucket. Couldn't get it to go. And who else but Burrell to clean up the mess.
And Syracuse has been incredibly effective on the offensive glass. Throw the size advantage away. You think these guys don't want to hoist another trophy?
And we've seen in specific games the Stallions really struggled on the glass. They were out-rebounded, nearly 30 rebounds in the second round matchup versus the Jamestown Jackals, and that was effective. The Jackals ended up taking that game 1. We see here that they know that the Enid Outlaws have a size advantage, and they're cleaning the glass better than I've ever seen before.
One of my favorite quotes in sports came from the longtime Syracuse lacrosse head coach and absolute legend, Roy Simmons Jr., and what he said when Syracuse went to the national championship in 2008, despite being retired, not being the head coach anymore, a very effective member of the program, he addressed the team before the game, and he said, you already won a championship. That's already guaranteed. They had already won the Big East, and they already won the championship, won their region to make it to the national championship game. He said, you already won a trophy. It's silver. You already won a silver trophy. That's done. Your job today is to make it gold after these 4 quarters. And that's what Syracuse is trying to do. They already won a trophy. They already cut down nets, but they want to make that a crystal trophy, not the silver conference championship trophy. They want the crystal TBL championship trophy.
And you just saying that to me, Gio, makes me want to rise up to my feet and go out in the court myself. But I think you're absolutely right. This team, they have plenty of metal, but I think they want a little bit more nylon in their trophy cases, because last time they cut down those nets in this previous matchup last week, there were some happy fellas at the home team pub the following hour.
There's a lot of hardware in that trophy case despite only being in this league 1 year. You got the Eastern Conference regular season championship, then you got the playoffs championship, then you got the Defensive Player of the Year award. I mean, they really are doing some impressive stuff. Tristan Burrell, the free throw's good, converts the three-point play, and Syracuse now down by just 2.
Burrell, 76% from the free throw line. He's going to get that big free throw shot as often as possible.
Here's Devin Harris. Got a screen, got a trail to the window, and got a bucket.
And that's just textbook screen right there. Rolling to the left side, goes baseline, and puts the easy bucket away.
And he's a speedy guard, to say the least. He's quick and explosive. Tristan Burrell, the swim move wasn't home, and we'll head up the floor with Harris. Harris stops in his tracks. Kick out. Marquardt wants 3. Got it! Don't leave that man open because he can drain him from downtown.
And that's just repetition right there. He wasn't even looking at the rim by the time he was setting that shot up, peeking at his feet to make sure he was behind the three-point arc. And then he puts it up. Strokes the net. Pure.
Here's Mo Taylor. Slicing to the inside as Tristan Burrell draws the foul. He'll head to the charity stripe for 2 more.
And I'll make a quote of my own, Gio. I played soccer growing up under the great coach Mike McCaffrey, and he quoted one thing often is, he appreciates the goals. It sets it up, and that's an example of it right there. Mo Taylor, more of a forward than he is a center as compared to his brother Jaquil, stepping in for his brother Jaquil, that is. And, you know, he's just staying near the top of the key and feeding those guys rolling to the inside like Tristan Burrell. And we've seen the passing on display from everybody on the Stallions tonight. And I think it shows. You have to appreciate the passing on display just as much as the scoring.
Absolutely. As Burrell's lights out from the free throw line, knocks them both down. It was the largest lead so far for the Outlaws. They led by 7. Now that's down to 5, and a foul on the floor goes against Syracuse, as drawing the contact was Marquardt.
We can hear the crowd's dismay, Gio.
Yeah, I heard some flop calls around our area, I won't lie. But again, a good call by these fantastic referees here. The TBL gets the best of the best. And just like the players, just like us broadcasters, just like the coaches, the GMs, you know, these referees are trying to get to that next level as well.
Absolutely, and mainly, these referees are 100% human. Unlike some of these players, we'd like to think everybody here is human, and the fact of the matter is they're not perfect, but Gio, I hate to say it, they've looked nearly perfect tonight, and they've really brought their A game for this championship game.
You know what Syracuse, speaking of being human, has done a really good job of? They've made Comanche look human. I mean, the guy averages 27.9 points a game, and not that he hasn't been effective. He's been good. But Syracuse has really locked down on him, definitely keyed him into their game plan, and he hasn't been what he is. And he's the league MVP.
Exactly. You know, you brought the humanity out of Comanche. They've made it look much less like a clinic and more like a basketball game.
Right now, though, who's looking pretty inhuman for the Outlaws is Charlie Marquardt, who really is putting some points up in the stats column and doing some electrifying things. And he's been unconscious from downtown as he knocks both free throws down.
And I would argue Marquardt is one of the most effective three-point shooters in the TBL.
Here's Jimmy Gray, off to Burrell. Tightly guarded, but he's got a size advantage. Spins away from the trap. Off to Jimmy Gray, can't find his shot. Now Elijah Minnie thought about it. Off to Robinson, Elijah Minnie pulls up. Trigger pulled, no good. And a great rebound there for Comanche. What a save that time by Elijah Minnie. Robertson in transition. Off to Mo Taylor. Kicks it to Gray. Corner three in the air. Got it! Jimmy Gray. Unbelievable.
Gray looking green from the wing once again, and that's one of the best displays of ball movement I've seen all year.
Devin Harris trying to respond, and he does. The crowd silencing knife through the lane. And that's a big bucket there for the Outlaws. Lob to Burrell. And he got the friendly roll again. As he points to his teammate, fantastic pass from Gray.
And you know how ridiculously difficult that bucket is? Your back turned to the bucket, flicking it up and kissing it off the backboard into the side netting.
And just going to the tin untouched was Charlie Marquardt. Here's Jordan Robertson, dribbles behind his back. The Outlaws in a full court press here, but not really a tight press, just trying to make the Stallions uncomfortable, make them work a little bit. Robertson pulls up, hand in his face, no good. And Comanche pulls down the board.
Right, that's what you call that fluid press from the Outlaws.
Three-pointer on the other end from Marquardt is pure, and he is playing out of his mind right now. This lead at its largest by 9.
2:50 to go. You really got to close it out stronger for the Stallions.
Tristan Burrell responds. And a three from the left wing.
Right on cue.
Now top of the key. Marquardt thought about it. This to the inside, Denson. And a travel is called against Quantel Denson. Wayne Runnels checks back in. Syracuse with some substitutions as well. Mike Henry's going to check in. At a timeout on the floor, 2.5 to play. The Outlaws starting to pull away a little bit, starting to create that little bit of separation, but Syracuse has been there to kind of punch them back in the mouth and let them know that they're still hanging in there.
I think that's a great notion. You know, like you said, throwing a punch back in the mouth. It's going to be back and forth. It's going to look like a boxing match because they really are going jab for jab, hook for hook right now. You know, they're throwing those bombs, slamming dunks home, getting those big buckets, but at the same time, they're cleaning the glass. They're moving the ball. All the small things and big things are falling into place, and right now, I'm witnessing one of the best basketball games I've ever watched live, Gio.
You know what's really interesting to take a look at, Kyle, is the conference title game for both of these teams. Syracuse played Jamestown, a bitter rival, lost game 1, had to respond with their backs against the wall, won both game 2 and game 3. Well, the Enid Outlaws did the exact same thing, played their bitter rivals, the Houston Push, who were number 2 in their league, just like Jamestown in the East, lost game 1 by a substantial margin as well. Then they had their backs against the wall and had to win game 2 and game 3 and did just that. So very similar conference championship rounds that really showed a lot of character for both the Stallions and for the Enid Outlaws.
Exactly, and in stark contrast, we could look at everything overall. I mean, throughout the regular season and postseason, we see the Enid Outlaws are number 2 in rebounds, number 2 in points, and number 1 in assists. In stark contrast, the Syracuse Stallions, number 1 in boards and number 1 in points. Both these teams are at the top of major categories, battling it out, number 1 and 2. And here we are, the TBL championship, number 1 and 2, facing off.
And it doesn't get any better than this. 58-52 is the lead right now for Enid. 2.5 minutes to play here. Tristan Burrell lifts up, and no good, rattled it off.
And that's just unlucky.
One of the only times tonight they haven't got the friendly roll. Devin Harris trying to find his shot. Off to Comanche. And a great defensive play there to poke it away by Jimmy Gray out of the hands of Marquardt.
Now, Jimmy Gray's always been a great defensive specialist, but he's been especially sharp tonight.
John Ivey, another fan favorite, checks into the game for Syracuse once again. As Omega Harris will inbound, gets it into Harris. Devin Harris, that is. And Devin Harris gets inside. Possible goaltending, no call. An offensive rebound. Leads to a bucket. They'll call goaltending that time, but it's against the Outlaws. So Omega Harris gets a goaltend that time, and Syracuse gets away with one.
And that's just a real basketball moment right there, Gio. You know the ball's over the rim, and that's a violation, so they'll take that ball all day.
Syracuse fans love it. The referees look like they're going to talk about it, and they do agree. So we'll head the other way, Stallions possession. Great time to shout out our proud sponsor, Price Choppers broadcast. On TBL TV, it's the championship series between the Stallions and the Outlaws. We approach 1.5 minutes to play here in the first half of game number 1. John Ivey draws the contact off the window. He'll head to the line for 2. Roof would have blown off this place if he got the and 1.
Ivey nearly a 50% shooter from the field, and that's a pretty tough bucket. I was surprised that thing didn't roll in for him.
John Ivey, effective from the free throw line as well, Kyle. Shoots 84% from the charity stripe, the best free throw shooter on this Syracuse team. Checking into the ball game, Nicholas Evans checks in for Comanche.
And I've been waiting for Nick Evans to check in.
He's a big guy. They got size, and they go deep at the center position. They got 3 guys that are near 7-footers.
And only one pure center in contrast for the Stallions, and Jaquil Taylor. So now no real centers on the court due to that injury for the Stallions tonight.
Baseline drive for Runnels. It's not there. And will stay at this end. Devin Harris will inbound. Jordan Robertson checks back into the game for Mo Taylor. So this is a really small lineup they're going with right now. Technically 4 guards on the court because Tristan Burrell's listed as a guard. Mike Henry being the only forward. This is a really small lineup, and there's a lot of size out there right now in a couple of different areas, especially down low with Evans, but they also got some small ball going on the other side. Marquardt trying to find his shot. And he got a second chance bucket to go.
Now watch Jimmy Gray try and push the floor.
Jimmy Gray, step back, crossover 3, no good. Chasing after that one and saving it was Harris. Up the floor will go. Lob to the middle. Able to save it that time was Harris. Off to Harris, 3-pointer no. But the tip in is there for Wayne Runnels. And he was the only one around the rim that time. Syracuse got to do a better job of closing in on the rebounds because now it's the largest lead. Again, 11 points is the advantage for the Outlaws. Well, Tristan Burrell just sliced into that one and brought it down to 8.
If anyone can minimize it, it's Tristan Burrell, the #1 scorer for the Syracuse Stallions.
And on the other end, Nicholas Evans untouched.
Now watch Burrell try and go for another big bucket right here.
30 seconds in the half. Burrell to the tin, off.
Nearly kissed that one off the glass. The lack of athleticism against his defenders is just unbelievable because that guy nearly put that one away with will.
He'll head to the free throw line for 2. He's done a real good job of drawing the contact so far tonight. Now Burrell here. Chance to make this a 6-point game. And it was literally tipped in almost by Wayne Runnels. And excuse me, it's an 8-point game.
Something about the Outlaws violating the rules and trying to grab that ball right off the rim.
Here's Devin Harris going at Burrell. Kicks it to the corner. It's Evans. Evans, top of the key, Marquardt. Down to 6 on the shot clock. Lets it fly. Contact, no foul. And a rebound. And a travel is called.
And 3.9 seconds left on the clock. Not much for the Stallions, but still enough time that they should really try and push the ball down the floor and capitalize.
Plenty of time. We've seen Tyler Ennis do it, Kyle.
I made that reference a few games ago.
You got 3.9 seconds, and Syracuse has made magic happen. Full court heaves in a corner 3.
Watch this press.
Gets it into Burrell with 3, now 2. John Ivey the 3 off the mark, no good, and that will be the conclusion of half number 1. The Enid Outlaws lead Syracuse in dominant fashion, 66-58 through 2 quarters of play. Kyle, your final thoughts on the first half?
And I think it started with the size advantage for the Enid Outlaws. Without Jaquil Taylor for the Stallions, they have no true centers on the squad. Mo Taylor replacing him at only 6'9". Obviously, when I say only, it makes him sound small, but no lack of size in that young man anyways. But no true centers on this court. Like I said, it's been apparent early on. You know, other than that, you can't subtract the fact that the Enid Outlaws execute in the inside better than any other team in the entirety of the TBL. That's why you have guys like Comanche, the TBL MVP, who puts buckets away at will on the inside.
Well, Syracuse has done a good job of kind of really keying in on Chance Comanche, the league MVP, but doing a fantastic job to step it up and put points on the board has been Charlie Marquardt. He's been absolutely sensational, shooting the ball incredibly well, getting second chance buckets, really doing it all across the board for the Enid Outlaws right now. What have you seen out of him?
I mean, he's not even just unconscious past the three-point line. He's post-mortem because this guy has just been putting shots away at will, and that's really a dagger in the heart of the Stallions every time, taken away at their horsepower because he has literally hit 9 of 10 from the three-point line as far as I've seen. And when you hit big buckets like that, it's going to hurt both emotionally and statistically. And those big buckets have really shown on the board tonight with an 8-point lead going into the second half for the Enid Outlaws.
Well, on the other end, stepping up big, it's been Tristan Burrell for Syracuse. Jordan Robertson has done a good job, and Mo Taylor's certainly trying to do his best down low, but the Stallions, not the Orange, are feeling the absence of their big man, Jaquil Taylor. We'll take a break right here on TBL TV, and we'll be back for the second half of action. Don't go anywhere. Buckle up. Plenty of basketball left to be played, but for now, it's a 66-58 lead for the Enid Outlaws over the Stallions in Game 1 of the 2021 TBL Championship Series.
Basket comes from transfer 18, foul charge to number 20 of Syracuse, Maurice Taylor Jr. The second personal foul, team first. Changing will shoot one free throw at the line for Enid.
Just give me a thumbs up and I'll start talking.
Welcome back here to Game 1 of the TBL Championship. We apologize for the technical difficulties. I'm Kyle Marshak alongside Giovanni Heater, who will be tuning in just a second, so I'll take over for the broadcast in the meantime. It's been back and forth early in the second half. The first half, the Stallions just completely outsized as Gio finally gets back onto the headset. Gio, it's been a fantastic matchup. Time for you to take over, buddy. We apologize for the technical difficulties as Henry lines up a shot from three, can't get it to go. Now Sledge running the floor, trying to get the bucket to the inside. They slam it home, but a foul on the call. It's a charge. And the Stallions will take any possession they can get. 9 minutes to go here in the third quarter, and the Stallions need to get rolling. It's been back and forth early on, but now nearly the largest lead for the Enid Outlaws.
Welcome back on TBL TV. Again, we apologize for the technical difficulties. Kyle, thanks so much for covering for me as we sorted that one out, but we're back. It's a 73-64 lead right now for the Outlaws. 9:02 left to go. Syracuse finding themselves in a 9-point hole, trying desperately to respond to it as Jordan Robertson on the left side. Tightly guarded by Harris, lets one fly with a hand in his face, rattled off the rim, no good, and Comanche pulls down the board for Enid. Up the floor with speed is Harris. Harris to the tin, and he gets the friendly roll.
It's just been back and forth early on in this second half. The few minutes we missed, Gio, it's just been pushing the floor from both squads and a lot more second chance buckets from the Enid Outlaws.
Here's Mike Henry on the right wing, tightly guarded here by Sledge. Henry to the tin, doesn't get the whistle he wanted, and up the floor will go with Harris. Back to Sledge. Kick out in the corner. Three-pointers in the air. Off the front of the rim, no good. Sledge the offensive board. Marquardt from downtown, and a timeout by Nick Perioli.
And that's a good timeout. You need to find a way to stop the ball movement and prevent Marquardt from lining up from three. Like we said before closing out the first half, he was just post-mortem past the three-point line, Gio.
Charlie Marquardt has surpassed the point of unconscious, as Kyle mentioned, and he has been dominant. The biggest reason why the Enid Outlaws have found themselves with such a significant 14-point advantage on the scoreboard.
And that advantage is really going to be tough to topple for the Stallions because all the momentum is in the favor of the Enid Outlaws. They've just been rolling ever since they came out of halftime, and you simply can't afford to let that happen if you're Coach Nick Perioli. I mean, you and I, Gio, as broadcasters for the Syracuse Stallions, we're really lining up to watch our first loss here at home because this is a momentum that they have not been able to beat before.
Now, not to really cut to the chase or anything here, but Syracuse is familiar with going down in a series 1-0. And on the other side, in contrast to it, so are the Enid Outlaws, but it just has a feel that the presence of Jaquil Taylor has not been felt, obviously, due to him being out with injury, and they're certainly missing his absence.
Absolutely. I think, the lack of presence from Jaquil on the court, at least, is definitely felt, defensively especially, but offensively as well. A guy you can always trust to feed on the inside, and he can put away those big buckets in the post. But, without that, you're going to have to get a little creative with guys like Elijah Minnie, who's the next tallest at 6'9", and of course his brother, Jaquil Taylor's brother, that is, Mo Taylor at 6'8". Two stretch forwards who can really, play well on the inside, but don't match up to those guys with size, like Sledge, like Marquardt, who's really tall for a guard shooting from deep, and of course Comanche, who's just been unstoppable on the inside.
It's a situation, though, where it's got to be an X-man-up mentality for Syracuse, but if you don't have a guy that can play at that level, and especially more than anything else, be at that size, it's really a disadvantage for the Stallions. Mike Henry, corner three, got it. Man, did they need that one, and Mike Henry gave it to him.
That's exactly what they needed. Mike Henry literally can build a house in that wing, and that guy just lives there.
7:45 left to go. A lot of contact down low. Tristan Burrell pleading his case, but I believe it's going to be a foul against the Stallions.
Can't afford to get sloppy here in the second half. Coach Nick Perioli's really got to reel his guys in.
Joey Wallace checking into the ball game for the first time here, son of Syracuse Orange basketball legend John Wallace. His first minutes of the night, and possibly that spark off the bench that they need. He can bring a lot of energy.
And Wallace, a guy who knows when to capitalize. In his final regular season game, he had a triple-double. So when it's time to perform on the right stage, Joey Wallace is the man.
Marquardt of the 10, got it. Charlie Marquardt, you think he didn't want a homecoming? The Lemoyne College product goes all the way to Oklahoma to play pro ball, and again, coming back home to Syracuse, has put on an absolute show. Mike Henry to the 10, lays it up and in, and drew some contact there with Tavares Sledge, and of all guys to let him hear it, it's going to be Mike Henry. Referee coming to talk to him. We might get a technical coming here. And there it is, a technical foul against Mike Henry.
And how about the help from Wallace pulling him away? The team chemistry, I think, is an underrated element of the Syracuse Stallions. Gio, you and I have sat in a couple practices, and these guys are all here for each other, holding them back from even the referees, who all of them collectively dislike at times, Gio.
Yeah, that's a situation, though, you know, the emotions are flying high. Syracuse is frustrated, but you couldn't afford that one, right? Because they get the free throw, and then they also get the possession here. I mean, Mike Henry's got to be smarter than that. In that situation, like that, you just can't have that. You can't let your emotions get the best of you. And he put a body on a guy, then he let the guy hear it, and then he goes on to let the official hear it, and it's just never going to amount to anything good. So.
And if you're Coach Perrioli, you can't help but be disappointed, because Mike Henry's supposed to be one of those leading figures, a guy who's composed on the court, a guy who does the small things first and isn't necessarily a role player, because obviously he's filled in his role and then some on the court. But, a guy who isn't that number one man, you expect him to keep his composure on the court.
Can't agree with you more, buddy. On the inside, and a foul's called. Comanche drew the contact, and the fans don't agree with it. Kind of a tic-tac foul, but Comanche's going to head to the free throw line for 2 nonetheless.
And Burrell's got to watch his words. You don't want to give him more free buckets.
Burrell's another guy that is not afraid to express his frustration.
Something about the Burrell blood. These guys are not afraid to tell him how they feel.
As we're just kind of trying to let the atmosphere do the talking right now. I mean, you don't get this anywhere else. This is the TBL on TBL TV. I mean, when you're playing for a championship, it's that much more of an emotional high and an emotional low. There's 2 ends of the spectrum, and, both teams are feeling that right now.
Yeah, that yin and yang on display. And it's almost poetic with the white jerseys as compared to the black jerseys. It's beautiful how you can see it at this point in the game, at least. The lows and the highs, as you just described.
As Comanche knocks down the first free throw. It's an 82-69 lead. They lead by 13. Not their largest of the game, but pretty close to it. As Comanche at the free throw line again. Chance to stretch it to a 14-point advantage. And he knocks it down with ease. Now Joey Wallace into the game, looking for that spark, wearing his dad's number. Kicks it to the corner. Mike Henry, that's a sweet spot. The extra pass, Burrell, that's a 3 fly. Off the mark, no good. Fight for the rebound is there, but instead Comanche pulls it away. Fantastic pass and a better dish and dump. Wayne Runnels off the assist from Charlie Marquardt.
Runnels, not a fantastic shooter, but 18.4 points per game. Just a guy who rolls down the court and gets the easy buckets.
Zakiah Owens in the ball game as well for Syracuse. Owens left alone. They know he can't shoot that. Owens, the athletic play, tried to do too much. Jordan Robertson saves it, swings it to the middle. Owens with the dunk, and they'll say it's a shot clock violation instead. No bucket.
And our PA announcer, Jimmy Morgan, trying to do his part.
He mentioned that to us. He'll do that. He'll try and play into the game as much as possible in favor of the Stallions.
Just in an environment and community from all the staff here at TBL TV and for the Syracuse Stallions, frankly, that you cannot replicate anywhere else.
I mean, this atmosphere is absolutely incredible right now with 6:18 left on the clock, quarter 3. Syracuse has their backs against the wall. We've seen themselves dig out of a hole before, though. I mean, we've seen this a couple of times. They trailed to Jamestown. There were times where they trailed against Indy. Now they haven't trailed by this many before.
And they've most definitely trailed this far before behind the squad before, like you said. I mean, Indy, they struggled, and definitely against Jamestown, they struggled. And speaking of trailing, I mean, a team who isn't afraid to go down 1-0 in a series because they've come back in their past 2 series to make it to the TBL Finals 2-1.
So Zakiah Owens' shot will count. And it's an 85-71 lead by way of 14 points for the Outlaws. Bodying his way down low is Comanche. And Syracuse has their work cut out for them, and I'm wondering why you have Zakiah Owens and Joey Wallace on the floor. Catching a body is Owens, and he'll head to the free throw line for 2. Certainly making him feel that one was Runnels. And that's what you want, though. You're going to make him feel the foul, make him pay for coming in inside your paint.
Absolutely. Zakiah Owens, the AIC yellow jacket. He knows D2 basketball. He knows to play that gritty basketball. And 65% from the field doesn't just come from tossing up easy buckets. He's going to force his way to the rim.
Zakiah Owens, first free throw in the air, and rattled it off, no good. Well, you're going to need the freebies down the stretch, too, if you want to make a comeback here. It's a 16-point lead for Enid. And this is the first time the Stallions have looked humid, really, this year. But this is by far the best team that they've played, and they're without the Defensive Player of the Year in Jaquil Taylor.
I think that tells you, like you said, with Perioli's squad, the ability to just step up.
And a violation against Enid. That's a gimme if you're Syracuse, a chance to take advantage. And down the stretch, that's exactly what they're going to have to do. Force empty possessions for Enid and make them pay.
And that just shows, you know, when you get comfortable on a 16-point lead and your defenders, your paint guys have just kind of gone sterile on their feet, you could say.
Elijah Minnie from the top of the key. And there's what the doctor ordered for Syracuse.
Cutting me off mid-sentence, you know, you can't afford to just kind of go sterile on your feet. You got to bring that spark. And if you're not moving around, those are the violations you're going to give up.
Devin Harris for 3, gave it right back. Just when Syracuse had a big bucket that they so desperately needed, the Outlaws were there to punch them back.
Harris shooting that one all the way back home from Oklahoma. A huge three-pointer.
Joey Wallace feed to Mike Henry, and the foul is called, so Henry's going to head to the free throw line for 2.
Now we talk about Mo Taylor stepping in for Jaquil Taylor, his brother, but I think Henry perhaps is that #1 guy besides, of course, Rasan Burrell, who's really stepped up in the lack of presence from Jaquil Taylor due to his injury, because he's just doing all the right things. He's hustling for second chance buckets, he's drawing fouls on the inside, he's getting the work in the paint, and of course he's living in that wing where he hits three-pointers, you know, hourly, minutely. So I think that's as good as it gets when you talk about stepping it up.
As Mike Henry. Those misses at the free throw line for him are few and far between, but in a moment where you need him the most, he couldn't get it.
I guarantee Perioli's going to have these guys running suicides and chucking up 50 free throws next practice.
I don't know when he's going to have time for it. These men get on a plane at 6 o'clock in the morning to fly back to Enid for a game 2 on Friday night. Thursday's the travel day, and then Friday's game day. Here's Devin Harris, the lead, 15 for Enid. Charlie Marquardt gets the separation off the screen. Robertson suffocating, fades away, lets it fly. No good, and a travel is called.
And that's when you rein in your squad to capitalize off of their mistakes. You give them a couple of mistakes yourself, missing free throws, giving up fouls, and then boom, a traveling violation. This is your chance to capitalize, bring it back within reach.
Plenty of basketball left to be played here in Syracuse at Tony Smerelli Court. Elijah Minnie thought about a 3, gives it off to Burrell. The pass back to Minnie, give and go, off the window and in.
And how about that feed from Burrell? Talking his talk now in the wing. He had that ball on a string right there, Gio.
Fantastic dish from Burrell. And the crowd's back into it once again in Syracuse. Devin Harris trying to quiet. No good. And stretching out for the rebound there, that time is Comanche. Three-pointer, Marquardt, yes! Charlie Marquardt cannot miss from beyond the arc.
Like I said, completely unconscious.
And a turnover on the inside for Syracuse. And a foul against Mike Henry.
Now, I like that idea to be aggressive on that play, but again, you know you're going to go up for a foul right there. He's going to out-jump you 9 out of 10 times.
So Wayne Runnels will head to the free throw line. He's a 53% free throw shooter. So I guess if you want to foul somebody, he's a good guy to foul because he's pretty much a guaranteed of a 1 for 2. And the Cowbells could have something to say about it as well. Runnels, first one in the air, and he knocks it down. Cowbells trying to do their job here in Syracuse. It's like a Mississippi State football game. Runnels lets it fly, knocked them both down. 53% from the charity stripe, went 100% that time.
Here we see Wallace walking the dog.
Wallace trying to do too much, and they pass it right into the hands of Harris. 4 on 3. Marquardt off the rim, no good. The putback's not there either, but Harris gets the offensive rebound, and they've done a lot better job rebounding the basketball in the second half.
And you can't afford to not capitalize off that mistake again. Cleaning the glass is one of those #1 rules for the Stallions. That's kind of the housekeeping really to begin with. When Jaquil Taylor's off the court, you have to have guys who step up on the inside. But just look at these guys bunched up on the court for the Stallions. All smaller than their competitors. You're not going to have those guys who can step up on the glass. So it starts with boxing out the small things, just moving to the right spot when you see a shot put up. Got to get those rebounds.
Oh my goodness! Comanche goes up and over Elijah Minnie for the posterizer.
And that's not an easy thing to do. Elijah Minnie can get up with you.
Jordan Robertson off to Minnie, lets it fly off the mark, no good. Tristan Burrell, the offensive board. Deep 3, no. Comanche the rebound. Elijah Minnie pokes it away off the Joey Wallace tip. Tristan Burrell to the tin, Euro step, draws the contact off the window, no good. But he'll shoot 2.
And that's exactly what you need to do. You can't afford to do too much like Joey Wallace in that previous possession, just trying to force the ball and make a fantastic play. You don't need to do that. The ball kicks back out. Tristan Burrell just Euro steps to the rim and draws the foul. Keep it simple.
Kyle, you know, we like to keep it really positive here in the booth, but I question right now why Nick Perrioli is keeping both Jimmy Gray and John Ivey on the bench, and John Ivey checking in and Joey Wallace checking out. He was out there for a while. You know, it's not that he did anything bad, turned the ball over a couple of times. It's just not a bucket getter, right? You need a bucket getter right now. You're down 20 in the championship series. It was a questionable choice not to put him in. They were looking for that spark, but to keep him in for so long. Played almost the entire third quarter.
And now John Ivey and Marquardt were getting each other's faces. I saw Ivey kind of setting his feet right under the stance of Marquardt, kind of getting under his skin. And that's really a heads-up play from Ivey. That's what he does. He gets under your skin. He's a gritty player, that step-up defender, that face guard guy. And that's his job. Get on the court, make a difference defensively. It starts with the small stuff, and Ivey is that guy. We're talking about role players for the Stallions.
And the crowd is letting them hear it right now. Timeout on the floor. Syracuse right now down by 21. Got to put something together here. Or excuse me, down by 19 rather.
And with 3 minutes to go, you're going to have 15 minutes in this ball game. You have to start with these next 3 minutes. Close out this quarter so you show them that with that 12-minute mark left on the board, you've already made your difference. It's just a matter of competing those last 12 minutes. And, you know, when you talk about the lineups, I think that's where it starts. You know, a guy like Jimmy Gray and John Ivey who stepped on the court and immediately made a difference, mind you. Despite the size, the lack of size advantage, these guys get on the court. They're tenacious defenders. You know, they meet those guys at half court, and they don't let them by. Because right now, all I see in the Enid Outlaws is just a criminal amount of just driving past these guys and straight to the rack. They find these open lanes. You need to get lanky guys on the inside like Tristan Burrell, Chris Gilks, Mo Taylor, who have a little bit of size, even if they aren't big scorers like Gilks and Taylor. You know, let them shut off those lanes first. It starts with the defense, but right now, the Enid Outlaws just feel so comfortable on the offensive half of the court.
You know, it really is unfortunate because I truly believe that, not that Syracuse would even be winning right now, it would just be a different game with Jaquil Taylor in the ball game for Syracuse. I mean, he just brings so much presence. One, he's the Defensive Player of the Year. Two, he's a guy that averages 14 points a game, leads the league in blocks with 2.9 a game. He's also good for almost 10 rebounds. I mean, he's a double-double machine. Very effective scorer, incredible defender, the best defender in the league. It's just such a piece missing for Syracuse, and they don't look the same without him.
Absolutely, and on average for the Outlaws, they have a 2-inch height advantage player to player.
And one thing that the Outlaws have done very good is not let Syracuse get any open threes. Every time they send one away, it's with a hand in the face. That time Robertson had a hand in his face, a great closeout, and he doesn't hit the shot. Marquardt got his shot blocked by Elijah Minnie. He saved it. Marquardt picked up the miss. Oh, John Ivey with the stuff, and it's a 3-on-2 up the floor. Jordan Robertson to the tin. No foul is called and will head the other way.
And again, a couple of strips both ways. Both these teams can afford to make these mistakes. When you get a swat, Ivy, 2 fantastic plays right there. Elijah Minnie initially too. How do you not go and capitalize? But again, the ball knocked loose. The Stallions just cannot keep their hands on the ball tonight.
And we'll stay at this end. 2:17 left to go in the third. Syracuse in much need of a couple big ones. And dribbling it off his knee was Mike Henry that time. A costly mistake if you're Syracuse.
Turnovers, turnovers, turnovers. You simply cannot afford to do that. And the Stallions, despite being such an effective team offensively, turn over the ball far too often.
Comanche up and over the defense. Makes it look easy, and that's why he's the league MVP, Marshak.
He's been a little quiet early on, but still gets the small things done.
John Ivey trying to do a little bit too much that time, the miss. And another empty possession for Syracuse as the Outlaws look to stretch the lead. Harris, and a foul is called inside. It'll go against Mike Henry. And it's tough because you're trying to put a body on a guy who's 4 inches taller than you, and just a little too much, the foul is called.
Yeah, when it comes to bodying these guys up, you know, it really just kind of defines how much these teams force the ball. And when we speak of forcing the ball, we go back to that point of turnovers. And I'm looking at it right now. The Syracuse Stallions are 11th out of all teams in the TBL in turnovers. Guess who's 10th? The Enid Outlaws. 2 teams who bring the ball up the floor with the best pace, but at the same time, turn the ball over more than most teams in the TBL. And I think it really shows here because it's just been pinball back and forth.
Fantastic analytics to my right-hand side, Mr. Kyle Marshak. One of the best in the business.
I try my best.
99-78 your score. Enid leads it. Minute and a half to play here in the third quarter. And it looked like a game that was close and had fireworks for sure in the first half, but Enid really has had a fantastic third quarter and pulled away by a large margin.
And right here at the charity stripe is where it started. Even guys like Comanche, the Enid Outlaws, 4th in the entire league in free throws made per game. The Stallions barely even in the top 50%.
Hits them both. Tristan Burrell got it off to Robertson. Burrell barely keeps it in bounds. Cross-court swing. Mike Henry for 3. Rattled it off. No good. And again, it was a great defensive effort by the Outlaws with a hand right in his grill. Here's Devin Harris going at Jimmy Gray. Now Harris. Cross-court pass. Sledge gave it off. Now Stewart pulls up. Burrell's there. Defensively doesn't matter. Kyle Stewart rises up and over Tristan Burrell for 2.
Stewart, the 6'8 guard, nearly 10 points per game. But again, a lot of those points, although it's not many, just come from the easy buckets. And right there, that's his shot, that right elbow right there.
And Syracuse is seeing a lot slip away right now. Devin Harris, left wing, 35 seconds left in the third. Lets one fly from downtown. Rattled it home. The Outlaws can't miss. And they're really starting to pull away now.
And just when you think things will get easier with Marquardt off the court, there's still lights out from three. You have to press higher on the court. Meet those guys at half court, because if you start letting them get to the inside, they're just going to kick the ball back out.
Burrell nearly the and one. He'll head to the line for two. And it's time. I mean, you're down by this much, it's got to be the Tristan Burrell show, right? Put the ball in your best player's hands, see what he can do isolation style. I mean, it's at that time right now for Syracuse. Empty possession after empty possession. Early shots in the shot clock. Great closeout defense by the Outlaws. I mean, all this adds up for a recipe of a blowout.
And that's a point that I make a lot, empty possessions for the Stallions. A team who obviously, gets a lot of second chance buckets with how much they clean the glass. And, they're still a leading team in scoring, the number one team in scoring as a matter of fact. But at the end of the day, they still lack in efficiency. And when you face a team like the Enid Outlaws, who have nearly a 41% chance of making a three-point shot as a whole, that's not just one person, that's the entire squad. That's the second best in the TBL, mind you. You're going to see a difference from the arc.
Harris off the window, no good. Punched out by Ivy. The heave at the buzzer, off the mark. And after 3 quarters of play, it's a 105-79 lead for the Enid Outlaws. And Kyle, when it rains, it pours, because Syracuse is just doing things uncharacteristic, missing free throws, bricking shots. I mean, just doing stuff they don't typically do, struggling. And it's true that when it rains, it indeed pours.
Absolutely. Going into this matchup, Gio, it made so much sense for us to see these two teams in the championship, right? Statistically, two of the best teams. When you look at the Enid Outlaws, number 2 in boards, number 2 in points, and number 1 in assists, the best team in the country distributing the ball. And that's been on display early on. And then you look at the Syracuse Stallions, number 1 in boards and number 1 in points, one of the best teams at getting those second chance buckets away in general. So where is the difference? It's the efficiency. You look at the number 1 team in the country right in front of us in efficiency, nearly 57% from the field, the Enid Outlaws, the Stallions in the bottom 50% at only 47%. It's absolutely abysmal to see that difference, and it's very evident early on that 10% difference is shown.
Welcome back here on TBL TV. Giovanni Heater alongside Kyle Marshak with you for what's been a fairly lopsided Game 1 of the 2021 TBL Championship Series finale between the Enid Outlaws and the Syracuse Stallions. Game 1 here in Syracuse started out tightly contested, but Enid is pulled away. Syracuse looking for a response. That's a good stop there. Robertson thought about a 3, gives it off to Chris Gilks. Now Gilks trapped in the corner off to Jimmy Gray. He heaves from downtown, left it short. Trying to close out was Will Thompson. And up the floor we'll head with Sledge. Sledge to Harris. Swings the ball to Stewart. Stewart going at Gilks. Spins. The mismatch is there. Can't get the friendly roll, and Jordan Robertson collapses on the board.
And that's just a good defensive stop from the Stallions. You can't be complacent, in this final quarter.
Will Thompson dives on the floor for the basketball.
And there's that lack of complacency. You've got to hustle every possession you can get. And honestly, if I were Perioli, I wouldn't even mind throwing those guys up at half court, 3 quarters of a court, and getting nearly that full court press, because you need to try and get those possessions as much as possible now. With 11 minutes left on the clock, every time the Enid Outlaws can put a bucket away, your odds of winning this game are just falling out of your hands.
Charlie Marquardt, guilty man on the foul, and we'll get a jump ball. Unfortunate thing for Syracuse, they got a 7-footer in Chance Comanche taking the tip. And Will Thompson, not a small guy, standing at 6'4", but that's not 7 foot like Comanche.
Now next to him, he definitely looks more like a Jimmy Gray, who's only 6'1", and that's questionable at that.
So here's Will Thompson giving his best effort for Syracuse as they need a possession and they won't get it. Comanche tipped it right to Marquardt, who's had a fantastic outing tonight. And Omega Harris, Devin Harris rather, up the floor. Stewart hit the deck. The block will go in the category. Chris Gilks lost it, and it'll be an easy 2 for Tavares Sledge.
And that's just as unfortunate as it gets, Gio. I mean, just when things aren't rolling the Stallions' way, guy slips, get a steal up the floor, and another turnover. Sledge puts the easy bucket away.
10:50 left to go. Syracuse just trying to get out of Dodge almost, it feels like at this point. Down by 27 points. By far their largest disadvantage of the season.
And again, it goes back to that efficiency. I think the Enid Outlaws are one of the best executionists, you could say, from the floor. I mean, it's not even because they're relying on that three-point shot that they've been nailing all night. If we look at it, field goal percentage, #1 in the country. 2-point percentage, #1 in the country. 3-point percentage, looking at it right now, #2 in the country. I mean, efficiency from all over the floor.
Here's Jordan Robertson trying to create his own shot. Sledge, good defense. Robertson under 10 on the shot clock. Heaves, fires, left it short. Nearly missed it all. Jimmy Gray, the finish. Off to Thompson, and we'll get a foul called. So Will Thompson will head to the free throw line for 2 shots of his own.
And that's what you need to do if you're the Stallions right now. Excuse me, Gio. Just got to get the easy buckets. Force your way through. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, not at all. It just feels like damage control at this point almost if you're Syracuse.
Absolutely. Even the fans trying to help out at this point.
Still a packed house here nonetheless at Tony Smerly Court. It will be the last home game of the season in Syracuse as we'll head to Enid, Oklahoma for Game 2 and Game 3. Possible Game 3, I should say, of this series. That'll be Friday night and Saturday night if needed. Again, the Stallions hop on an airplane at 6 a.m. tomorrow to head to Enid. How about this community, Kyle, coming together? Talk to General Manager Mike Sagamosto. They raised $12,000 of their needed $15,000 to get the crew all the way to Enid. So they're going to make the trip. It's not a problem. But this community coming together, raising $12,000 for this team to have the ability to travel. I mean, Syracuse loves basketball, and it doesn't even have to be orange. Lob, Burrell, the extra pass to Jordan Robertson, and Jimmy Gray finishes the mess.
How about that 4-pass connection, a little bit of pinball action, and that's that chemistry you need to bring it back within reach, Gio.
The crowd's still into it, not giving up on the Stallions yet in Game 1. Here's Marquardt inside the Sledge, going at Thompson. Sledge, great defense from Thompson. And Syracuse will take it away. Robertson tried to dunk it home off the lob from Tristan Burrell and just couldn't quite corral it. And again, when it rains, it pours, because that's usually 2 points and an elevation of the crowd 9 times out of 10 so far this season.
And that still could be a spark. Let them know that you're still here, but at the end of the day, you have to have the ability to have a short memory if you're a basketball player, because when you miss a shot, you got to make the next.
And dunking it home on the other end is Wayne Runnels, silencing the Syracuse crowd with 9 minutes to go. Jimmy Gray, great hesitation. He got hacked hard that time. And he'll head to the free throw line for 2. So Jimmy Gray, 2 shots at the free throw line. 109-81 is the lead right now for the Outlaws. In a lopsided affair after a huge third quarter. Jimmy Gray knocks down the first. And he's the most dependable free throw shooter on the Syracuse roster. Shoots at 81. One better, actually, is John Ivey at 84.
And at that size, 6'1", that's going to be your forte. Smaller guard. You got to get those small things to go for you.
And misses the second free throw, a rare miss for Jimmy Gray, and they just can't buy one tonight.
And again, those free throws have just been killer all night. Something that the Stallions have had to rein in for a long time. The Outlaws, not so great at the free throw percentage either at 71%. They're nearly at the halfway mark. The Stallions just behind them.
Now Wayne Runnels to inbound here for Enid. Syracuse in a full court press kind of defense here. Jimmy Gray not going to give an inch to Harris. Meets him on the left wing, and the crowd's still into it. It's a miscommunication as that one sails out of bounds. It'll be Syracuse ball. Jimmy Gray now for the Stallions. They trail by 27. Gray off to Burrell. 8:43 on the game clock. 8 seconds on the shot clock. Burrell out his pocket picked. Able to pick it up that time is Gilks. Gilks to the tin. Off the window. Got the roll. Chris Gilks. A contributor off the bench, and you love to see it.
That's a big bucket from Gilks, the 6'4" SUNY Oswego product. Now a timeout. They need this.
Crazy enough, Kyle, we were down on our trip in Maryland last week, and I had mentioned in just a natural conversation to someone I had met that we call the Syracuse Stallions games, and she literally said, oh, my friend, my good friend that I've known for a long time plays on that team. Now, we're all the way down in Maryland, and I was like, oh, who's your friend? Chris Gilks, nonetheless. So crazy. I mean, it's a small world. We were down in Maryland, and I met somebody that's friends with Chris Gilks, who's a fan favorite off the bench for Syracuse.
And why haven't I heard of this, Gio? I'm just hearing this now.
I know. It's
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's a small world we live in, Gio. But again, like that's what Dave Magley and company just totally envelop in the TBL, which is why it's such a fantastic league as community. You got guys down in Maryland who know the players from Syracuse. I think it just develops so much what this league is about.
It does help that the person I met down there was from Syracuse.
Go figure.
Nonetheless, Syracuse in a hole right now. It's a 109-84 lead for the Enid Outlaws, and they're not giving up the fight. But Enid could smell a Game 1 victory as they'll head back home for Game 2. Enid probably going to try and ice that one up. Syracuse will try and force a Game 3 with their back against the wall, missing the Defensive Player of the Year for the series.
And really not to blow smoke, but if there's any team that can really claw their way back, one of the grittiest teams, not just the Eastern Conference, but the TBL, it's horsepower in the latter half of that game.
And the crowd's still into it. It's starting to thin out just a little bit. It's still a good showing here as they chant the Stallions chant. Harris, Euro step, lost it. Thompson poked it away, and Chris Gilks gives it off to Gray. Burrell, transition, tried to hit Robertson, and it's last touch by Omega. Harris will still stay this end, Syracuse ball. And that's what they got to do, Kyle. They got to play fast because really when they set up, they're not beating Enid right now. If they can get the ball in transition and score fast-paced the way right now, if they can get the ball in transition and score fast-paced the way Syracuse likes to play, it could be a different game. Tristan Burrell from downtown. That's a big shot, Marquardt.
Yeah, talk about making a difference all the way from West Genesee Street. Tristan Burrell getting a big bucket.
Runnels trying to find an open guy. Marquardt draws the contact, and it'll go against Chris Gilks. No shot. It'll be on the floor. And Gilks put a body on Marquardt. Maybe a good thing because Marquardt hit another one from deep. Made it look easy at that.
And how about the leisureness of Chris Gilks, shaking his head yes, in compliance, with the ref's call.
Oh, he knew it.
He knew it.
Toss in here by Stewart, gets it off to Harris. Feed inside Comanche, and when the other team goes on a run, that's the guy to give the ball to. Another play defensively by Syracuse, and Jimmy Gray thought that he had a white jersey back there. Instead, it was Tavares Sledge slamming it home.
And again, two teams with fantastic court vision. You got guys like Tristan Burrell who can read the court like a book.
Burrell again from way downtown at the top of the key.
And all of a sudden, nearly back within 20 points, Gio.
Marquardt nearly hit, but it's an empty possession for the Outlaws.
And this is when you push the floor. If you're Burrell, you just got to push the floor.
Try and find a mismatch here. There isn't quite one there, though. Stewart's a great defender. Burrell will go at him. Kicks it out to Gilks. Extra pass. Robertson corner. Will Thompson the rebound. And we'll get a call from a referee awaiting it. We'll stay here. because it's a foul against the Outlaws. It was last touched by Will Thompson, but we will stay here due to a foul.
And if they get this bucket away on this possession, that's massive, because that'd be the first time the Stallions have put a string of buckets together. And we've heard this many times before, Gio. Basketball is a game of runs.
It is, and the Stallions trying to go on one right here. Hopefully it's not too little, too late. Tristan Burrell's mother cheering him on, standing up with an ovation from the side. Gilks the pump fake. Gilks, step back, lets it fly. Off the mark, had to heave it. It was late in the shot clock. And now in transition come the Outlaws. Sledge with the sledgehammer and an exclamation point.
And again, the Stallions can push the floor, but the Outlaws bring it up to a gear we've never seen before, Gio.
Chris Gilks from three in the corner, and he got it. Not necessarily the guy you'd think would shoot the ball in a situation like this, but he knocked it down. Feed to the middle, Comanche, easy. Just puts it up and in and bodies Will Thompson on the way back down the floor.
And that's just a mismatch on the inside.
Gilks again, off the mark. Thompson, oh my goodness! Will Thompson just put him on a poster.
It is crimp. Rise up that high from the rafters.
That's the craziest play we've seen out of Thompson in his Stallions tenure. And a whistle's blown as Comanche just keeps driving his shoulder right into the face of Thompson. He's taking it like a champ, but a foul ends up going against Thompson.
Will Thompson, a hidden talent I found on his Cazenovia page, a former Cazenovia graduate, flexing and finessing. I think now is the best time for him to start flexing.
It was pretty finessing when he put that man on a poster with the putback. Inside Harris. Chris Gilks poked it away for a second. Harris escapes trouble. Sledge on the inside, dumps it off Comanche. Comanche trying to find his way to the rim. Not there. Sledge the second time, and it's home. And again, Syracuse is just out height, body down low. They don't have any height down there. Shaquille Taylor. Jimmy Gray lets it fly. Free throw line. Jumper, yes. That's going to be something that Mike Sugimosto is definitely going to attack next year, finding more height for this team. Not that they don't have it. They really haven't been out-heighted by many teams this year, but Enid looks poised for a championship with their dominant height advantage right now. Off the mark, Jordan Robertson, a 3-on-3 up the floor. Robertson out to Gilks, extra pass Burrell. Thought about a three, he'll take a drive, kicks it out Gray. Gray heaved from three, left it short. Burrell's there, puts it up, home. And more points for Syracuse.
Take a deep breath, Gio, because a lot more plays are waiting for us like that. Ball's moving around a lot.
Under 4.5 to play. 117-99 your score. 18-point advantage for Enid. Syracuse has closed the gap a little bit, but they're going to need to do a lot more. And an offensive foul goes against Tavares Sledge. Crowd liked that one.
Sledge, the Wright State product, 6'6", nearly a 17-point per game scorer. He knows what it's like to play some big boy basketball. A little too much right there, Gio.
So Jimmy Gray will toss it into Tristan Burrell. As Burrell try and make some magic happen here. Can lightning strike for Syracuse? Out of the lightning bolt, Tristan Burrell.
We've seen it before.
Deep shot, off the mark, and an easy rebound by Wayne Runnels as nobody in the white jersey closed out on him.
But how about, where's the rebounding effort from the Stallions? You got to box out.
Comanche, deep two, rattled it off, no good. Here's Jordan Robertson. Syracuse running out of time though. Robertson, step back, popped it back to Will Thompson. Thompson thinking about a three, going at the MVP Comanche. Nothing he can do with it. Finds Jimmy Gray, heaves, left wing three, rimmed out, no good. And Comanche the rebound. And it's 3-point desperation time for Syracuse as the timeout is called by Ed Corporal.
And that's a great timeout by Corporal. Just kind of regaining it. I think he's noticing that the Stallions are slowly calling their way back. Now it's an 18-point game. It was previously nearly 28. As a matter of fact, 3.5 minutes to go, there could be a swing that the Stallions have that can bring them back within it. And like I said, if there's any team that's capable of that, it's the Syracuse Stallions.
The great thing about this right now, despite the outcome right now as far as the scoreboard goes, is the community has fully embraced this team that really is a little bit disrecognized. You know, and between the articles in the newspaper and the news channel features, and they have Mayor Ben Walsh here tonight, and they went to meet the mayor today. I mean, just a lot of attention that this team doesn't typically get now that they've made the leap from the ABA to the TBL, really acclaiming themselves as a professional basketball powerhouse. Just something special, you know, to see the community surround themselves around a team like this.
Absolutely. I mean, how could you not know that this level of basketball is right in your backyard? And for you and I to really be brought into this community to broadcast these games, and the fact that you and I even had to study up what exactly this league is and what it means is almost embarrassing, because such a special thing is brewing in Syracuse, and for so many people to not recognize it just yet, I think it says a lot about what's coming to Syracuse, because they have no idea what special stuff is going on here.
You know when it'll be recognized the most? It's when the Combine takes place in Vegas, August 9th through the 12th. We'll be there.
Man, am I excited for it. Basketball grows in so many ways, but the TBL, I think it harbors something that we've never seen before.
I couldn't agree with you more, brother. We still got 3:15 left to go here in game number 1. Harris heaves from deep, splashing the net and silencing the crowd as people start to head for the exits in Syracuse.
But how about the
Robertson gets it right back. Didn't mean to interrupt you there, pal.
It's just you have to highlight what you can as we get a big bucket right there. That defensive effort from Jimmy Gray all night. That dude is so tenacious every time.
Syracuse trails by 19. Marquardt, the big bucket getter all night, going at Thompson. Feed to Runnels, puts it up off the window and just made it look too easy. Syracuse caught out of position too many times on that trip. Here's Robertson. Puts it up, no good. And a rebound for Runnels. And like I said, people starting to head for the exits in Syracuse.
This is when the fouls start flying in.
Do you though? With down 21, do you foul? The lob, Comanche couldn't finish. And we'll stay at this end, last touch by Will Thompson.
And I think when you're a coach like Nick Perrioli, a player in the inaugural season, I think he values possession time more than the average coach, because you have guys like Jimmy Gray who go out there and hustle for steals. He's clearly instilled an idea of possession time in these young players.
Here's Marquardt going at Thompson. Heaves for 3 off the rim. No good. Tristan Burrell tried to be there. Marquardt saved it into Harris. A fresh shot clock. Marquardt from downtown. Yes! That's the dagger, Marshak. Put the knife in the Stallion.
And that quite possibly cut the circulation right there. That is just brutal, but still no lack of effort. If anyone's going to try and close out this game in style, it's Tristan Burrell.
Jordan Robertson fading away, deep 2, rattled it home, back rim and in. But it's a lot of too little, too late going on right now in Syracuse. You get the feel. Here's Marquardt off to Comanche, and he'll stuff that one in with an exclamation point and an emphasis. Burrell with 1:18 on the clock. Swings it inside to Thompson. Kickball violation off the foot of Kyle Stewart.
And I think, although that's a kickball violation, it really just sums up the Stallions' efforts tonight. A team who tries to match the effort and play up to the level of the Enid Outlaws, who have been just a faster team and a better executing team. And when you try and force the ball like that, it's been turnovers galore.
Here's Burrell off to Gilks. Corner 3. Got it. Chris Gilks padding his stat column tonight. Best game we've seen out of him in a Stallion jersey this playoff. Harris, Marquardt, 3 again. No. And a rebound, Comanche with under a minute to go. Dumps it off Runnels. And a big block there for Jimmy Gray. It's a 3-on-2. Gray stopped dead in his tracks, lets it fly. Off the front of the rim, no good. Left it short, and up will go. It's a 1-on-1. And a huge slam for Kyle Stewart.
It's not about how you started, it's how you finish. And I think this reveals a lot of the character of the Stallions. Still hustling, still trying to put buckets away, still pushing the pace up the floor. And this game wraps up, you can kind of see and expose the real, identity of these players. And these are guys that are true hoopers. They don't just give up because they know they're down. They'll try and get every possession they can.
Harris with 5 on the shot clock going at Gray. Gray poked it away. Robertson's got 9, now 8. Down to 6. Chris Gilks from 3. Rattled it off, no good. Will Thompson back to Gilks at the buzzer. Heaves. Got it. It won't matter, but it'll go in the stat column for Chris Gilks. 129 to 108.